Have you ever felt utterly lost, with no idea if anyone could find you? Imagine being trapped in a dense forest, injured, and completely alone. This is exactly what Quang faces. His leg is wounded, he can't move, and hope seems distant, until a kind stranger helps him and he calls his mother. Through vivid descriptions of the forest, his mother recognizes the place and promises to rescue him. Moments later, she and Linda arrive, finally leading Quang back to safety. Don't miss this heart-stopping story. Hit subscribe now and join us as we follow Quang's journey of survival and reunion. Quang's hands trembled as he clutched the phone, the cold plastic pressing uncomfortably against his clammy palms. His voice, raw and strained, cracked as he whispered into the receiver, "Mom. I don't know where I am. My leg. It hurts so much." Every word seemed to hang in the air, heavy with fear and uncertainty. Around him, the forest loomed dark and silent, the shadows of towering trees stretching like ghostly fingers over the moss-covered ground. The distant call of a bird echoed faintly, a lonely reminder that he was utterly alone, or at least, almost alone. Beside him, the young woman who had found him in the forest earlier sat on a low rock, her eyes soft yet alert, her hands ready to help him at a moment's notice. She had insisted he stay put, telling him calmly, "You're safe now. Don't worry. I'll take care of you." Her presence was a fragile comfort, a tether to reality in a place that felt increasingly unreal. Quang tried to make sense of his surroundings, his head swimming with confusion. Every step he had taken earlier had been agony, and the forest seemed to shift and twist with every glance. He described aloud what he could see, his words hesitant but detailed. "There's a stream. Small, with water running clear. Over some stones. The light filters through the trees, like it's trying to touch the ground in little golden patches. There are some bushes. Thorny, I think, and oh, some rocks. Covered with moss. Green, damp." Each detail felt crucial, as if the right description might somehow anchor him to the outside world and guide someone to his side. The young woman nodded as he spoke, jotting down the directions in her mind, her brow furrowed with concern. She understood that Quang's survival depended not only on his physical endurance but also on maintaining a thread of hope, no matter how fragile, that someone, his mother, would find him. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as Quang continued to speak, his voice growing weaker with exhaustion. The forest around them was alive with subtle sounds, the rustle of leaves as a squirrel scurried up a tree, the occasional snap of a twig under the weight of some unseen creature, the whisper of the wind through the canopy above. Each noise made his heart jump, a jolt of adrenaline mingling with the pain in his leg. He winced as he shifted slightly, sending a sharp twinge through his calf. I can't move much," he admitted, his voice barely more than a whisper. "It hurts too much. I don't think I can walk." The truth of his vulnerability hit him like a hammer, and for a moment, he was frozen, unsure if he could even breathe without succumbing to panic, yet amid the fear, a spark of trust began to grow. The young woman's steady presence, her quiet reassurance, reminded him that he was not completely abandoned. She offered him a small bottle of water, and he drank slowly, savoring the cool relief as it slid down his throat. He described the details again, this time more clearly, picturing the stream, the mossy rocks, the golden light filtering through the treetops. Each word was a lifeline, a fragile connection to a world beyond the trees and shadows. Somewhere, he hoped, his mother was listening, waiting to recognize the place from his description. The thought, faint and flickering, kept him going. The forest was vast and indifferent, but for the first time in hours, Quang felt a tiny pulse of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, he would not remain lost here forever. On the other end of the line, Quang's mother held the phone with trembling hands, her heart pounding so violently that she could hear it in her ears. The forest, the stream, the moss-covered stones. Every word he spoke painted a picture that felt eerily familiar. Her mind raced, trying to match his description with every memory she had of the area. Then, suddenly, it clicked. Her eyes widened, and she whispered to herself, "Oh. He's there. He's in the place I went to gather herbs that day." Relief surged through her, mingled with a rush of fear for her son's safety. She could almost see him, vulnerable and alone, yet alive, somewhere among the shadows of the towering trees. Her voice, though still trembling, took on a firmness that surprised even herself as she spoke into the phone. "Quang. Listen to me. Don't be afraid. I know exactly where you are. I remember that place. I went there once a long time ago to collect herbs. You're safe for now. I promise, I'll get to you." Hearing his mother's certainty, Quang felt a strange mixture of hope and disbelief. His chest tightened as tears welled up in his eyes. For days, maybe weeks, he had wandered blindly, feeling utterly lost, unsure if anyone even knew he was missing. And now, just like that, a sliver of light pierced the darkness surrounding him. "Mom. Really? You know where I am?" His voice cracked with a combination of relief and incredulity. The pain in his leg seemed to lessen slightly, if only because the knowledge that help was coming gave him a reason to hold on. The young woman sitting beside him squeezed his hand gently, offering silent encouragement, and he drew a shaky breath, trying to steady his racing heart. His mother's voice softened, yet remained firm, a lifeline against the encroaching fear. "Yes, my child. I remember it clearly. There's a stream, moss-covered rocks, and a clearing near the edge of the forest. That's exactly where you are, isn't it?" Quang's description faltered for a moment as he realized she had pieced it together so quickly, almost as if she could see through his words. "Yes. Yes, Mom. That's it." How did you know?" he whispered, awe and astonishment threading through his exhaustion. She chuckled softly, a sound that carried warmth and authority at once, and reassured him, "I know because I've been there before. You're not alone, Quang. I'll be there soon. Just stay where you are. Don't try to move. Breathe. You can do this." Time seemed suspended as they spoke, the distance between them shrinking with every heartbeat. Each word from his mother was like a step taken toward him, a path clearing through the shadows of his fear. Quang could feel the tension in his muscles begin to ease, replaced by a cautious hope. The young woman continued to tend to his injury, preparing a small bandage and adjusting his position to keep him comfortable. Yet Quang barely noticed her presence now. His focus was entirely on the voice on the phone, the promise that someone who loved him was already on her way, racing through the forest to reach him. He repeated his surroundings one more time. Slower this time, confirming the trees, the rocks, the little stream, each syllable a map for the person who would rescue him. Finally, his mother's words were firm and resolute, cutting through the haze of panic that had threatened to overwhelm him. "Stay calm, my child. Hold on just a little longer. I know the way, and I'll get to you. Linda and we're coming right now. You're not lost anymore. You're going to be safe." A tear slid down Quang's cheek, not of sorrow, but of relief so deep it left him momentarily speechless. For the first time since he had wandered into the forest, alone and injured, he believed he would survive this ordeal. He believed that his mother, who knew exactly where he was, would bring him back to safety, that the darkness surrounding him would soon be replaced with the light of home and family. Not long after, the distant crunch of leaves under hurried footsteps reached Quang's ears, barely audible at first but growing steadily louder. His heart skipped, then raced, each beat reverberating painfully through his injured leg. Through the dim light of the forest, he could just make out two figures moving quickly yet cautiously toward him. One of them, he immediately recognized, was his mother, the lines of worry and determination etched deeply into her face. Beside her was Linda, her presence calm yet purposeful, carrying the supplies and support needed for the final stretch of the rescue. Relief and disbelief surged through Quang in a flood, washing away the lingering fear that had plagued him for so long. He wanted to speak, to call out, but his voice caught in his throat, choked by emotion. "Quang. Over here. Don't try to move." His mother shouted, her voice cutting clearly through the canopy of trees. At the sound, Quang felt tears spring to his eyes. He lifted his hands weakly, wincing as a sharp twinge shot through his leg. The young woman who had cared for him smiled, gently pushing him forward so that he could lean on a makeshift support, steadying his trembling body until his mother reached him. The moment their eyes met, it was as if the months of fear, confusion, and isolation melted away in an instant. His mother's arms wrapped around him with a force that spoke of relief, love, and unspoken apologies for every minute he had been alone and in danger. Quang's knees buckled slightly, and he allowed himself to be supported, feeling the warmth and reality of home that had been absent for so long. Linda knelt beside him, helping adjust the splint on his leg and ensuring that he could be moved safely. "It's okay now," she murmured, her voice steady and comforting. "We've got you." Quang could barely nod, overwhelmed by the cascade of emotions threatening to drown him: gratitude, relief, and the faint, flickering joy that life could still surprise him with kindness. Every leaf, every rock, every whisper of wind that had seemed menacing or indifferent in the forest now seemed to bow in recognition of his survival. The darkness of uncertainty that had clung to him for so long was receding, replaced by the tangible reality of being found, being safe, being loved. His mother held him close, murmuring reassurances and gentle instructions. "We'll get you back home, my child. You're going to be okay. No more wandering, no more fear. I know exactly where we are, and now that we're together, nothing can stop us." Quang, exhausted but buoyed by the knowledge that he was no longer alone, let himself be guided carefully along the familiar path his mother now led. Every step was slow, measured, and painfully deliberate, but the presence of those who loved him made it bearable. Each movement, each breath, each sound of the forest now carried a rhythm of hope and resilience rather than dread. As they moved deeper into the forest, Quang glanced around at the scenery he had described to his mother, now rendered less threatening and more like a testament to his endurance. The moss-covered stones, the gentle stream, the shafts of sunlight piercing the canopy, they were no longer obstacles, but landmarks on the journey back to safety. And with each step, the shadow of fear that had haunted him began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of belonging, of being found, of being cared for. By the time they reached the clearing, where the path would finally lead him out of the forest, Quang felt a surge of gratitude so profound it almost overwhelmed him. He was alive, he was safe, and most importantly, he was home again, surrounded by the people who loved him beyond measure.